Friend, Shabbat Shalom. I'm Rabbi Londy of the New Reformed Temple. I welcome you to our Shabbat services this evening. I'm with my friends Becky and Bliss, and the three of us will bring worship and Shabbat to us this evening. You know, we begin this service with an awareness of a terrible tragedy that took place in Israel at 1 a.m. on Friday morning in Israel. There were over 100,000 people who go on a pilgrimage to Mount Meron. It is Lag BaOmer, which is the 33rd day of the counting of the Omer, and it's a day of celebration in Israel. And a certain group of, I hate to use the word, but the ultra-Orthodox make a pilgrimage to Mount Meron because there is a great sage, Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, a great mystical teacher from the 2nd century, whose anniversary of his death takes place in Lag BaOmer. So to make this pilgrimage there every year is seen as something that is considered to be a great celebration. So literally 100,000 people gather in this small area, and tragedy happened. 45 people killed, 150 people injured, the greatest civilian tragedy in the history of the Jewish state. So this is a tremendous moment of sadness, and one of the realities, I don't know all the details, is that, of course, according to Jewish tradition, especially among the most observant, quick burial is important. So there was an imperative to have people buried before Shabbat, and that became a problem because the identification of the body. So all the details aside, it's a sadness, and we wish comfort on all the families who lost loved ones, and just a horrible event on a day that's supposed to be a day of celebration in the Jewish world, the Lag BaOmer. So we want to respond to it in some meaningful way before we begin the services, and Becky and Nathan want to share with you a couple of verses from a song that's really an anthem in Israel. It was written by David Brose and Yonatan Geffen in 1975, and it reflects suffering and it reflects hope. And the refrain of it is, "It will be all right. Sometimes I feel broken, but tonight, oh tonight, with you I remain." So it's an anthem of pain, but it's an anthem of hope as well. So to frame what we're experiencing tonight and the Jewish world and the world is experiencing, Becky and Nathan will share with us a part of this song, Yeh Tov.
אני מביט מהחלום וזה עושה לי די עצוב. האביב חלף אבל לא מי יודע מי ישוב. הליצן היה למלך, הנביא נהיה ליצן, ושכחתי את הדרך, אבל אני עוד כאן, ויהיה טוב, כן. לפעמים אני נשבר, אז הלילה איתך אני נשאר. עוד נלמד לחיות ביחד בין חושות עצי זיתים. ילדים יחיו בלי פחד, בלי גבולות, בלי מקלטים. על כפרים יברח ועשר, לשלום ואהבה. 100 שנים של חדר, ועוד לא עבדה התקווה. ויהיה טוב, כן. לפעמים אני נשבר, אז הלילה איתך אני נשאר.
We continue on page 7 with the kindling of our Shabbat lights. I will read responsibly. Come, let us welcome Shabbat. May its radiance warm our hearts as we kindle these tapers. Light is a symbol of God's presence in our lives. The Eternal One is our light and our salvation. Light is a symbol of the holiness within each of us. The human spirit is the light of God. Light is a symbol of the Torah's teachings, for the commandment is a lamp and the Torah is a light. Light is a symbol of God, of Israel's mission, as it is written, I have made you a covenant people to serve as a light to the nations. Therefore, in the spirit of our ancient tradition that hallows, unites Israel in all lands and all ages, we kindle the lights of Shabbat. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Shabbat lehadlik ner shel Shabbat. We praise our eternal God, creator of the universe, who hallows our lives through laws and ethical teachings. We are mindful of these timeless values as we kindle the lights of Shabbat. May God bless us with Shabbat joy. May God bless us with Shabbat holiness. May God bless us with Shabbat peace. Amen. Let us continue with our call to worship in the fourth service of our Siddur that we have been utilizing on page 78. And if you can, we ask you to rise.
Lai, 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 lai. Lai, 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 lai. Lai, 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 lai. Lai, 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 lai. Lai, 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 lai. Lai, 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 lai. Lai, 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 lai. Lai, 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 lai. Baruchu et Adonai
On page 79, you are our God, the source from which life and all blessings flow. Wherever we turn our hearts, we behold signs of your goodness and grace. The fullness of your power is disclosed to us in your guidance of our people, in the constant shape of human destiny, and in the wondrous works of creation. Your guiding spirit is present in all your works. The harmony and grandeur of nature speaks to us of you, of your infinite might and majesty. Together on page 80, infinite as is your power, even so is your love. It may be seen through the history of our people Israel, through laws and ethical precepts, through statutes and ordinances. You have led us in the ways of righteousness and brought us to the light of truth. Therefore, at our lying down and our rising up, we will meditate on the Torah's teachings, finding within it the inspirations, guidance for our daily lives. May your love never depart from our hearts. We praise you, God. You have revealed your love through our people, Israel. We continue with Ahavat Olam.
Ahavat olam beit Yisrael, Avechavta Amcha.
We continue with the Shema on page 81.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kivon Malchuto, Leolam, Leolam. You shall love the eternal God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your mind. And these words which I command you this day shall be upon your heart. You shall teach them diligently to your children, and shall speak of them when you sit in your house, when you walk by the way, when you lie down, when you rise up. You shall bind them for a sign upon your hand, and they shall be a symbol before your eyes. You shall write them on the doorpost of your house and on your gates, that you may remember and do all of my commandments, and be holy, holy to your God.
On page 84, trust in the Eternal One with all your heart, and do not rely only on your own limited understanding. Remember God's commandments and do them, that you should not follow only your own heart and your own eyes. Time and again, God has redeemed us from the hands of oppressors and revived our spirits when our own strength failed us. God's works and wonders surpass our understanding. God's gifts and blessings are without number. We rejoice in God's guiding power. We praise and give thanks to the Eternal One. We continue with Mi Chamocha.
Chamocha ba elim Adonai, Chamocha
continue with the Shamru, page 85. On page 86, let us read together. Grant, O God, that we may lie down in peace and rise up again to life. Spread over us the shelter of your peace. Guide us with wise counsel. Be as a shield about us, fortifying us against hatred and war, against pestilence and sorrow. Curb within us the inclination to do evil, and comfort us with the embrace of your love. Guide our going out and coming in to life and peace from this time forth and forever. We praise you, God, for you shelter us and all who dwell on earth. We continue with Hashkivenu. We continue with Adonai Sifatai Tifa Ufi Yahi Tehilatecha. We praise you, God of our mothers and fathers, God of Abraham, God of Sarah, God of all generations. You bestow loving kindness on all your people. You remember the devotion of those who came before us. As you guided our ancestors with love, you offer hope to us, their descendants. You are our creator and helper, our guide and protector. We praise you, eternal God, shield of Abraham and help of Sarah. We read together on page 87 in the middle of the page. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu v'Elohei avotenu v'imotenu Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, v'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Leah, Elohei Rachel, Ha'el Hagadol Hagibor v'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomer Chasadim Tovim, V'Konei Hakol, Zocher Chasdei Avot V'Imahot, Umevi Geula Livnei B'neihem, Laman Shemo B'Yahava, Melech Ozer Umoshia Umagen, Baruch Atah Adonai, Magen Avraham Ve'ezrat Sarah. We read together on the top of page 88. Infinite is your power, O God. Great is your gift of life. In loving kindness you sustain the world. Through the endless flow of your blessings you preserve all of creation. You uphold the falling and heal the sick. Free the captive and keep faith with your people in death as in life. Who is like you, author of life and death? We praise you, God, the source of eternal life. As we become more fully aware of God's presence, we discover our life's truth and the knowledge that we can worship God in holiness only as we serve each other in love. How much we owe to the labors of others. Day by day they endure pain and peril for our sake. Numberless gifts and blessings have been laid in our cradles as our birthright. On page 90, let me continue. May we then be just and great-hearted in our dealings with one another, sharing the fruits of our common labor, acknowledging that we are but stewards of whatever we possess. Help us to be among those who give generously of themselves that others may not hunger, who dare to be bearers of light in the dark loneliness of stricken lives, who struggle and even bleed for the triumph of justice for all people. So shall we be partners in the repair of our world, for that has been our vision and goal throughout the ages. Together in the middle of page 90, our God and God of all ages, grant that our worship on this Shabbat may be acceptable to you. Sanctify us through your commandments, that the serenity of Shabbat may enter our lives. Teach us to be satisfied with the gifts of your goodness and grateful to rejoice in all that you bestow. Purify our hearts that we may serve you in truth. Inspire us to preserve Shabbat as Israel's heritage, generation to generation. May it bring rest and joy, peace and comfort to the dwellings of our people, and that through it you may be revered throughout the world. We praise our God who sanctifies Shabbat. On page 93, grant us peace, your most precious gift, eternal source of peace, and enable our people Israel to be its messengers to all the world. Bless our country that it may ever be a pursuer of peace and its advocate in the council of nations. May contentment reign within our borders, health and happiness within our homes, strengthen the bonds of friendship and harmony among the inhabitants of all lands, plant virtue in every soul, and may our love for you hallow every home and every heart. We praise you, O God, giver of peace, and we say amen. Let's continue with Shalom Rav.
Shalom Rav, Yisrael Amcha, Tasim Le'olam. Shalom Rav, Yisrael Amcha, Tasim Le'olam. Ki Ata Hu Melech Adon, Lechol כי אתה הוא מלך אדום לכל השלום שלום רב הישראל עמך תשים לעולם שלום רב הישראל עמך תשים לעולם בטוב בעיניך לברך את עמך ישראל בכל עת ובכל שעה בשלומך שלום רב הישראל עמך תשים לעולם שלום רב הישראל עמך תשים לעולם תשים לעולם תשים לעולם
Let us pause for some moments of private reflection. Friends, let us now turn to some moments of prayer and reflection and hope for those who are ill. And let me share with you a reading that is part of our Siddur, part of our prayer book. It is part of the observances for the home. It's said in sickness, and it's in the first person, but it's beautiful to share with you at this moment. In sickness I turn to you, O God, and seek your help. You have created the healing powers that flow in every living creature. You are the source of the wisdom and compassion of my physicians and nurses, and of the dedication that prompts them to give of their best. And from you comes the comforting care of loved ones, and the tranquility of spirit which I and they need in this time of distress. So I pray, may all these powers combine to speed my recovery. Let not my illness weaken my faith in you, nor diminish my concern for the well-being of others. Let me gain from my ordeal a deeper appreciation of life and its blessings, and a fuller sympathy for all who suffer. May it be your will, eternal God, to grant a complete healing of body and spirit to me and to all who are ill. I praise you, O God, the source of all healing. So at this time, we turn our attention to all those who are in need of our prayers and hopes and support. And we will continue as Becky and Nathan chant for us, Misha Beirach.
מקור הברכה May the source of strength who bless the ones before us help us find the courage 'cause those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say Amen. Adonai tzuri v'go'ali. Oh, may the words of my mouth, the meditation of my heart be acceptable before you. Eternal God, my rock and my redeemer. Oh, say shalom, Bimroah. We are say shalom aleinu. Be'al kol Yisrael.
Friend, Shabbat Shalom again to you, and thank you and for allowing me to share some words with you this evening. It is an honor, and I take this responsibility very seriously each week. If the only thing that we knew about Judaism was derived from Leviticus chapter 22, the first chapter of our weekly Torah portion, we would believe this about Judaism. Judaism was centered around a holy man. He is called the Kohen Gadol, the high priest, whose name is Aaron. He is supported by other priests who are his children. And their primary concern of this priesthood is holiness. Now, how does the priest achieve this holiness? Again, this is one chapter. Restrictions on who they can marry, how they shave their facial hair, what holy vestments they wear, the strict prohibitions about proximity to the dead, disqualification if they have any serious physical imperfections, the state of ritual impurity when they eat the holy offerings. And it's all summarized in this verse. They shall be holy to their God and not profane the name of their God, for they offer the Lord's gifts, the food of their God, and so must be holy. In the prophetic reading that is associated with this reading from the prophet Ezekiel, states that only the professional priest may enter the sanctuary and minister to God. It's all about this priest and this priest's holiness. Now, history has moved on. The temple was destroyed 2,000 years ago, but remnants of this priesthood have been retained by some branches of Judaism. In many synagogues, for example, a person whose family has a priestly connection. It's passed down from one father to the next generation. That person is the first person called to the Torah in the congregation. Or on a festival, there is a special ceremony where the priests stand before the congregation and bless them. If we pay attention, and those of you who are part of our religious community and been part of it for many years or have experienced our being in services together online, none of that is found in Reform Judaism. None of it. Why? First, Reform Judaism does not feel comfortable with these sacrificial traditions. We do not seek the rebuilding of the temple and the bringing back of the priests. Second, we find these traditions to be undemocratic. In Reform Judaism, all Jews must be treated with equality. There cannot be elites in Jewish life. All people can study to be rabbis. All people can read from the Torah. All people can lead worship. And third, and probably most importantly, holy for Reformed Jews is a community project. Reformed Jews make it clear in the end, we need to act together to create a holy community through the mutuality of concern, holiness through relationships and reciprocal obligations, a society where we look out for each other's well-beings. That is what holiness is about, and that's the goal of being a Jew, to create this holy community. Friends, Kansas City has a holiness problem. It really does. A city that does not worry about the safety of its citizens is not holy. We have a lot of houses of worship, but do they really stand for holiness? Do they bring forward mutual concern and reciprocal obligations? There is no holiness in our Jewish way of understanding where people keep getting shot and killed by guns daily. The Jewish community was stunned by the death last Friday of the Kansas City journalist, 24-year-old Aviva Okasin Haberman, who was struck by a bullet Friday afternoon while in her apartment in the 29th block of Lockridge Avenue. Our shock is not because we are only concerned about Jews. Of course not. But it opened our eyes to the reality that gun violence is not just a problem for some specific ethnic, racial, or economic group. At times, we seem to avoid the crisis by saying, oh, that's a problem for that group in that place. That's just not so. Do you remember August 2019 when we heard that a woman, apparently an innocent bystander, was shot and killed on a Friday night in the Crossroad District? Or here are some of the newspaper reports from this week, only this week in our local paper. On Monday, April 28th, a man was fatally shot. Police were called just after 5 a.m. to East 29th Street and Jackson Avenue. Dead. These articles appear daily in our local newspaper. Another article from April 27th, I read, gun violence has increased this month in Kansas City, with the number of shootings surpassing those of previous months. This month and in April of 2020, 51 people have been shot this month in the city, 9 of them victims, dead. And here is what we know. And this is not even up for discussion. These are facts. We have a gun culture that is out of control. We have lax gun laws. Killings directly correlate with the number of guns. That's a fact. Guns cause interpersonal conflicts, arguments, and fights to become dangerous and violent. And out of insecurity, people buy more guns, and the circle keeps going around and around and around, and more shootings and more killings. Suicide was the second leading cause of death among Americans of all ages. More than half of all suicides are gun suicides. And the Supreme Court has now decided to revisit how far states may go in regulating whether an individual may carry a gun outside the home. I can't wait for that decision. Let's hold our breath that it isn't as bad as we might think it is. Jewish law is very clear. Self-defense is certainly permitted, but unregulated possession of weapons is forbidden according to Jewish law. The Shulchan Aruch, the great code of Jewish law, explains that we must actively seek out and destroy dangerous things in society, and I quote, "And for every stumbling block that is a danger to someone's life, there is a positive commandment to remove it and to destroy it from among us and to take good caution," as it says in Deuteronomy chapter 4, verse 9, "You shall guard your lives. And if you don't remove the stumbling block, that brings danger. You have neglected the positive mitzvah." And Rabbi J. David Bleich, one of the leading authorities on ethics in Yeshiva University, took a firm stance on this. Jewish law recognizes that indiscriminate sale of weapons cannot fail to endanger the public. Friends, I'm tired of hearing about the right to bear arms. Read the book, The Second Amendment, a biography by Michael Waldman, who really explains what the original intent of the right to bear arms is about. What about the right to life? What about the right not to be killed by a stray bullet? Friends, where is our collective pursuit of this thing that the Torah wants us to pursue? Holiness. Aren't we living in denial? Isn't Kansas City too dangerous? Kansas City is the country's fifth most dangerous big city behind St. Louis, Detroit, Baltimore, and Memphis. And what can our synagogue do? What is the response of the religious community? Isn't this the most pressing social justice issue? Not getting killed in the street by stray bullets? What do you think? Express your views in the chat tonight. You have it right in front of you. Say what you believe about this topic. Or go to our Facebook page and tell us what you are thinking. Or connect with a Heartland Coalition Against Gun Violence in our community. Or go to the Reform Action Center website. There's a link to it on our new web page. Reform Judaism should not only be about social issues, of course, but Reform Judaism must stand for the pursuit of a holy society. Reform Judaism advocates that gun regulation is a vital necessity because of our religious principles. I cannot think of any issue more important to our city and our Jewish conscience than this one. We dare not turn away from this challenge. Shabbat Shalom. We are going to continue in our worship on page 368 and continue with the adoration.
Let us adore the ever-living God. We offer praise unto you, who spread out the heavens and established מלאכים הקדוש הקדוש ברוך הוא.
Becky, you don't want to leave the bima. We're going to get you a sleeping bag, and you can just... I like that you like the book. I know you do. Friends, at this time we recall the yurt sites that are part of the permanent memory of our community. George Baum, Marsha Berkeley, Roy Dark, Harvey Freed, Shirley Goldstein, David Hirschfield, Bernard Horwitz, Harvey Mandel, Merwin Reisler, Henry Schoenfeld, Elke Schifrin, Morton Soslin, Richard Stern, Edna Wessel Goldberg, Barbara Winkler. In solemn testimony to that unbroken faith that links the generations of the house of Israel one to another, we ask everyone to please rise for the mourner's Kaddish on page 375. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, bi'omad ivrach chirutei v'yonlich machutei, b'chayechon uvyamechon uvchayedachol Beit Yisrael, bagalav izman kariv yimru amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mivorach li'olam omei omaya, yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar v'yitalev v'yitalal shmei dekudesha barechu. Le'elam min kol birchata v'shirata, tush b'chata v'nechamata, damiran b'yoma v'yimru amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya, v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'yimru amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav, hu ya'aseh shalom. Aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'yimru amen. May the one who causes peace to reign in the high heavens, let peace descend on us and all Israel and all the world. And let us all say, Amen. You may be seated. We are certainly mindful of the passing during this past 30 days of Thomas Davidson and Estelle Soslin, and we extend our condolences to their family. Our Shabbat Flowers Fund has received donations in memory of Harvey Freed by Sue Ellen Freed, and in memory of Bernard Hurwitz by Roger Hurwitz. We are going to continue our tradition of observing the Omer, the counting of the Omer. Today was Lag BaOmer, the 33rd day, and we're going to continue this evening with the counting of the next day. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu al sfirat ha'omer. Hayom arba'av u'shloshim yom shehem arba'a shvuot. V'shisha yamim la'omer. Today is the 34th day of the counting of the Omer. That is 4 weeks and 6 days of the Omer. You know, when I say Omer, Omer is my son-in-law. So every time I say it, it has a special meaning to it. I want to make mention of something that's really wonderful. We're involved in this project of a renovation of our congregation, and we are having a groundbreaking for this on Sunday, May 16th at 11 a.m. here at the congregation, so we can celebrate the formal beginning of the actual mechanics of this process. So you will get more information about that, but we want to encourage your participation and knowing about it, and of course, contributing whatever you can to this wonderful project as well. Sunday evening, May 16th at 7:30 p.m., we will be having our virtual Shavuot, Tikkun Leil Shavuot, our study session on the eve of the festival of Shavuot. And I'm doing something completely different. I'm going to be talking about studying the story of Rabbi Akiva, and it's rather fascinating, and I think you will find it very engaging. So that's what I have here, my friends, and we are going to continue in our service, unless you have something going on that you want to share. Anything? Okay. Odivo Shalom Aleinu, 437.
Odivo Shalom Aleinu, Odivo Shalom Aleinu, Odivo Shalom Aleinu, ve'al kulam. Odivo Shalom Aleinu, Odivo Shalom Aleinu, Odivo Shalom Aleinu, ve'al kulam. Salam Aleinu ve'al kol ha'olam. Salam Shalom. Salam Aleinu ve'al kol ha'olam. Salam Shalom. Odivo Shalom Aleinu, Odivo Shalom Aleinu, Odivo Shalom Aleinu ve'al kulam. Odivo Shalom Aleinu, Odivo Shalom Aleinu, Odivo Shalom Aleinu ve'al kulam. Salam Aleinu ve'al kol ha'olam. Salam Shalom. Salam Aleinu ve'al kol ha'olam. Salam Shalom. Odivo Shalom Aleinu, Odivo Shalom Aleinu, Odivo Shalom Aleinu ve'al kulam. Odivo Shalom Aleinu, Odivo Shalom Aleinu, Odivo Shalom Aleinu ve'al kulam.
Shabbat Shalom. Friends, thank you for being part of our worship this evening. Hopefully we'll have a peaceful Shabbat, and hopefully we'll get some good news in this world. We need it, and get your vaccine. I'm not overly pleased with the state of Kansas saying you don't need masks anymore, but I'm not an epidemiologist, but I have my own views. But let's be safe, have a joyful weekend. Let's just stay together as a loving and caring community, and let's seek holiness in this community. Shabbat Shalom.